This video is in response to a post on our bulletin board at Flexo Exchange, the break room, that Sooner made a few days ago. And Sooner asks this: looking for a good working model of a spec sheet for a label printer. And after our questions, we got him to clarify that what he means is, one, for repeating the job over and over, to travel with the ticket every time it goes to the press. If two different operators run a job, they run it the same way, same analog system, same station, more like a setup guide, right? So a few of us chimed in there, and we think we understand what Sooner's looking for, okay? Now, as I contemplated this, I was really risking overkill. Every situation is so custom, that, in my experience, that even though a lot of us have the same presses out there, people are doing things differently. And so sometimes, if I try to be too exhaustive in this topic, one, it'll be a waste of your time, and number two, it won't apply to every situation. So what I'm going to try to do is go with a couple of basic concepts, right? And then we'll have a look at some of this stuff and see if you can get a better idea, okay? Now, as work flows through a company, right, it touches various work centers. A work center is a place where a specific type of job is done. Customer service is a work center. Sales is a work center. Pre-press or parts of pre-press are work centers, right? Plate making is a work center. A design station is a work center. And so on and so forth. Now you get to the press, or you go to mounting. Mounting has its own work center. It also has its own spec sheet. Now we get to the press. That's what we're talking about here, okay? So it comes through, and your job ticket or job bag or docket that has the various documents for the work centers and how a job is done and samples and colors and all this stuff comes through the company, comes through the press, and gets to the press. The operator pulls out a spec sheet. I like to call it a setup history. Some folks call it production history, a tech sheet, a setup sheet. It doesn't matter what you call it. The bottom line is that it is a sheet that when you've set the press up and gotten it approved and that job is good, all of these variables are documented so that the next time the job comes through the press, you don't have to reinvent the wheel and try to figure out everything that it took to set up that job. So this is one that I developed for an 8-color press, 8-color servo press, an arrow web, that can run substrate through twice and re-register it. So this one even has setup for a first pass and setup for a second pass, okay? So with that said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you this one on my computer, and I'm also going to show you a couple that the FTA publishes, and you can use that as an idea, okay? So let's get to my computer and see what we can...
All right, guys. So Sooner says, I mean one for repeating the job over and over, to travel with ticket every time it goes to press. If two different operators run a job, they run it the same way, same analogs, the same situation, more like a setup guide. Okay, so let's have a look at something right quick. All right, this one here, this is a job jacket. This is in Flexo Principles and Practices, 5th edition. If you don't have a copy of that 6-volume desk set, I recommend that you get one, even if it means that you have to save up in a piggy bank or something like that. You just have to have it. It's got a lot of information. All right. So this is their example of a job jacket. Okay. Let's see if we can get it a little bit bigger here. All right. So they have information about the customer, information about the salesperson, whether it's a rush number or all this stuff. So you see, obviously, all of these details, it's a lot of details to be sending out to the press and confusing people with. And my position is that a lot of times when you send too much information out there, a lot of it gets overlooked because people just get used to being confused and blinded by all the information. So I'm going to show you another version that's going to be a little more, less information. So you've got information about the plate room. You got the information about the stock, information about the press room, sheeting and die cutting information. Okay, any special instruction, your die specs, your cylinder size, and all that good stuff about the cylinder here. Other operations, whether it gets rewound, etc. shipping instructions, and all that. This is a very comprehensive job jacket. Okay, this might be printed onto a folder or something and have all the information. Okay, so this, as the work goes through the company, it goes through each one of these work centers, and everybody can see all the information related with this job, and that's fine. Now, within this, one might have something like this. This would be specific to a given press. Now, these I tend to make custom because every environment has its own specifications, and every environment has its own way of doing things, and people just have their own ways of doing things. So I made this custom for a customer. This happens to be metric. It's all based in metric stuff. So let's just go through this real quick. Okay, product number. Any product, I like to give a unique number. Okay, and if anything changes about that product, including if a comma becomes a period, it gets a new product number. That way, anything associated with that product has to get rebuilt, and you don't have you have less chances of running stuff that has become obsolete on the same product. So anytime anything changes, I change the product number. Product description, gear teeth, number around, number across, number of passes, and the press speed. And all of these things, when they're in a computer system, you can key off of these things to calculate distortion, to calculate number of feet per X number of units, to calculate run rates and efficiencies and stuff. So I'm a big proponent of having everything in a computer when possible. Okay. Now this press happens to be an 8-color press that has servos, so it can re-register. You can print on one side, run it through the press again. You can flip it around and do all this stuff. So this is what these guys wanted on their spec sheet. They wanted a slot for their color, a slot for their cylinder number. Okay, there's nothing here. NA, never leave anything blank. It's either not applicable or it's got a specification. So, this is a color, black, right? Real simple. That's the way they want to call it. The cylinder, because every cylinder has its own diameter and age and all of that, they've got the cylinders numbered here. The line count, the volume, that's metric, and this is standard, and that's something that we've been working on. Don't get involved in that. Just know that it's got a place for line count and a place for volume. The direction, because this machine has turn bars and all this stuff, it could be either forward or reversed there, okay? The UV setting has high, medium, low, so here it has high. IR dryer is not applicable because they're using UV. And the tape thickness in that for that color in that cylinder is 0.46 mm, okay? Millimeters. So you see for each color they have all this information. And on the first pass, still on the first pass, you have the densities for the process colors. They don't happen to have it on the first pass. Dyes in the station, the tensions and other stuff that they need for their servo situation, print length, and all this stuff, all these settings, right? All right. Same thing on the second pass. Now on the second pass, they happen to be doing some process work, and here are their densities. Now I know these densities aren't right for Flexo if you go by first, but this is what they were running. This is what we recorded, and that's what it is until they figure out how to do it, another way. And then the same things here. Now here's a permanent remark that would always go out with this job ticket, or this spec sheet rather. Permanent remarks. This is a 2-pass job. Use in setting for second pass. An in setting is something associated with their servo equipment, so it just advises the operators that they need to do that. Now, temporary remarks. These remarks will be removed and maybe modified the next time this job comes out. This is a question to the operator. Can this job be printed in one pass? All right. So now, customer service or production is communicating with the press operator. It's a temporary remark that'll go away. Okay. Approval signature. Whenever this sheet is created, a supervisor or somebody has to approve it and date it. If it's modified, you're free to modify it, but it has to go through a protocol. If an operator wants to change this, discovers a better sequence or whatever, they're free to do that, but there's a protocol for doing that. They make the change, the supervisor notes the change and makes sure that information gets dumped into the database. This spec sheet will then return to production. The information will be modified, and the next time the thing comes out, the press operator has all his settings again. Okay? So there's a couple of concepts, guys, associated with this thing, and there's an infinite variety of ways that you can do this. So it's all about principles and philosophies and internal communication, and coming up with a system that works for you. At the end of the day, that's the bottom line. And as a reminder again, if you guys don't have Flexo principles and practices, you got to get it, all right, guys? All right, take care. Sorry I was late with this video. Lots going on. I appreciate you guys. Bye-bye.